so before I go ahead into all of the workflows that are included, and it is a total of 14, I did want to discuss a small disclaimer. Now, we know GHL has updates, a lot of updates, sometimes multiple updates a day, videos being dropped of daily updates, system changes, and all that good stuff. Now, when they can bring good positive improvements, they can also impact things that we have already built within your system. And the reason why this is a disclaimer, because I do want it to be clear that while you may know the system GHL, to really understand it knows and realizes that softwares do have glitches in them, and it's important to understand that I, nor anyone else outside of the owners of GHL, just like you, just like me, we work within the platform's capabilities while adapting to the changes as they come across. Okay? So, while striving to ensure the best possible setup, making updates as necessary, updates happen, things change, right? And I give you an example. Even with this snapshot, there's been some changes that happened over time since this was originally built out. I think it was 3 or 4 months ago, something like that. But anyway, so let's go ahead with that disclaimer out the way and hop into the very first workflow, which is the lead workflow. Okay, so basically in workflow 1, the main thing that you need to worry about is updating or assigning a team member within this workflow. This is a workflow that's really good for like your CODIS leads, traffic that you may have that comes into your system. So right there, if you click assign to team member, in your account, you would just do the drop down the user and select whatever user. This is a test account, so I just have that as an example, but you would have your name here listed. You would select yourself, you would select 5 other people, 10 other people, however your users are set up, you would select whoever needs to be assigned according to the leads, because you can always rotate them out. And then within a day, they'll be issued a follow-up task. So, as I said, I'm going to make this a pretty short video, but that will cover through all the workflows. The pipeline opportunities that we have set up does follow through the process that you have, the leads, whether they demo the AI, schedule the demo, need nurturing, purchase, not interested, the loss. We do have that, which is perfect because the pipelines obviously gives you a visualization of where everyone else is at and everything that's happening in your ecosystem. And also you'll see a little bit more about how this all comes together, but with that you'll be able to track how many leads are in which phase within the system. So that's really good help. So let's move on to workflow number 2. Now I will be going through workflows that are coming through the actual voice AI bot. So that's how a lot of this connects together. However, here's a second workflow where they demoed live voice AI. Their tag that they went ahead and demo it, we're going to wait 24 hours to see if they scheduled a actual demo appointment, because obviously they're going to start with the demo live voice AI and then they can get to scheduling an actual demo appointment as well. And then if they did buy or schedule, what we want to know is if the tags include purchase, then they go down here. If they scheduled AI demo, then they go down here. But if there's none, then that's when we need to engage them in the follow-up and nurturing campaign that we have set up. Because the system takes them through 2 different nurture systems. And then next we're going to go into the third workflow, which is going to put it into perspective as far as the scheduling is done. Okay, so as I said in workflow number 2, that is when they do the actual live demo with the AI bot, voice AI bot, personally. But if at some point they say that they would like to proceed with a demo with one of your team members, then you have them pop into this workflow. The conversational AI, I'm going to pull that up real quick because what you would need to do is update the name. So I have the name just Nicole, that's my assistant's name. Kind of do it like that just because it's easier to kind of keep that organized. So that's what I put in there. However, you do want this different than your voice AI bot. You can keep it the same name if you want, but the reason why I said switch it up is because in Voice AI video that I'll record that as well, you'll see that it says something to the effect of like, I'll have my assistant text you or something like that. I might have changed it. I gotta look at that again. But at one point it said, hey, my assistant will text you soon. So when this workflow engages, if they have the same name, it's kind of like, it's a moot point. So either one, you can either change that to just be like, hey, I'll text you in a little bit and then keep the same name, or if you want to switch it up, you can. So that's not a huge deal, but just another option if you want to have different names for each bot. So conversational AI is dropped in here. Now the reason why we're adding conversational AI in with voice AI is simply because if your leads have any questions or they want to engage with the bot a little bit more, we allow them to without having to rely on a whole bunch of if-else conditions that could cause a loop in the system. They get stuck in the system or anything like that. So it kind of works and moves them through a little bit better when we have conversational AI. So this is the full workflow here. They say, hey, I do want to speak to someone about scheduling an in-person or a video call, chat, whatever, and they come through here. Let's say the bot engages with them and they don't respond to it. Then they're gonna go down this route here, the timeout, if they don't say anything or what have you, then it's gonna go back up where the bot will again be like, hey, sorry I didn't get that. Hey, did you change your mind? Are you still interested? That's what all these blocks are working their way through. And then you want to, where am I over here? Okay, so then if they decide that they do want to move forward with appointment, then that is when we bring them down to this spot here where they ask about the email. Contact information. All right, can I get your best email so we can send you notifications and updates for your appointment, right? Then it goes through the same process of like, hey, I didn't get that. Can you repeat the information? Blah blah blah. And then you move on to the next workflow to schedule an appointment when the user does give the information. Okay, so here you need to update a few things such as the sales team members and your appointment confirmation email. Now, what happens from 003 that we were just in with them booking the appointment, finally, when they say, yes, I'm ready to book an appointment, they get pushed into this workflow here, and this is when they'll be prompted to book whatever session is called. So this is by default. I guess technically you would want to update this as well. So update, I guess, your calendar. This comes with the Voice AI demo sales team. So that's what I have. Oops. That's one of the calendars that I have. So that one's already selected. If you don't see that it's selected in your system, just go ahead and select it. Also, you can change what they're getting. So based on the information that's here, you can update that if you want. All of that is editable if you need to, but what's important to change is making sure the calendar here is showing, and then change the action name if you want to have like a different session name or what have you. That's assigned. Okay, so let's say the bot here, this is an appointment booking bot, starts to converse. Overall, what this workflow does is if it times out, the bot is going to continually attempt to book them a demo, right? That's the purpose of this workflow. And then if they don't, it will again try a few more attempts until it does time out and notifies that it has not booked an appointment. And then if it is booked, what ends up happening is assigned to a team member, which is said you want to again update the user here of who will be assigned, and then it's going to add a tag that a demo was scheduled, and then they have an appointment scheduled email. Now we have an appointment confirmation flow workflow that you can take some of the text from there and put that in here. However, I know that some people like to create their own appointment confirmation email, so this is left blank so you can put whatever is here. The text message is filled out. That text message just says, hey, check your email, there's some info about your appointment in there, okay? And then it updates the opportunities for them, and then it updates the appointment date. custom fields, and the reason for that we will see eventually. There's a reason for that later in one of the other workflows. But yeah, so this is basically that workflow where the conversation is being handed over to the next bot for them to get assigning them to one of your sales team members, as well as if they don't respond, they'll be asked, I think it was said 2 or 3 times, and as long as they're positive intent, then we'll get them to schedule until they book one of your team members, okay? So, one thing I wanted to say too is under calendars, if you go to calendars, make sure that the calendars that come with this workflow is active. So the voice AI demo with sales team, make sure it's active or activated, because if not, it's not going to show up as an option. So that is something important to note. And then I think now with this is time for the funnel, one of the funnels, and custom values. That's what's next. All right. Okay, so this is the reason why I said update. Make sure your calendar is showing as active. So here is the confirmation, reminders, and messages that are being sent out once you get an appointment confirmed. So like I said here, it should automatically show this calendar, but if it does not, do you want to check and make sure that it's showing as active on your calendar list. Now, you do not have to keep these calendars in place. That's something else I wanted to say. If you have another calendar that you want appointments to be sent to, you're more than welcome to change it to whatever that calendar name may be. But depending on the snapshot, obviously let's keep that separate. And then you have the first email that's sent out. Is this the one that's 5 days? I believe this is the one. Yeah, so the other workflow on 3, if you do want on 3A for your appointment confirmation email, you can just literally copy this whole thing and then paste it in that one. If you wanted to have the exact same verbiage, that's cool. If not, then you can create whatever one you want. But that's the one that's sent out here. You have your reminder emails, you have your text messages, 24 hours before the appointment, you have the hour before the appointment, and different reminders. And here is like a whole crucial area. An hour after your appointment with them, it's going to notify your assigned team member. Click there. You want to update your member again. Whoever that may be. This is where the assigned member will be notified. Sorry, so backtrack on that one. This is the crucial part, because your assigned member is going to receive a simple message on their phone. How did an appointment with such and such go? Okay, depending on which one they click, they'll get a different funnel. So your team member or yourself, whoever gets a message, ping, an hour after the appointment is ended. Hey, how did the appointment with such and such go? When you click the word that says no show, it will take you to this page. When you click the word that says show, it's going to take you to another landing page. At that point, it says appointment status updated to no show. The workflow is going to trigger. We'll get to that, but it's going to set it off where it's going to update their status in multiple different places that they were a no show or they actually showed, and then move on from there. Now, this link is the no show link. Just like if you do a preview of the show link, you'll get a link specifically for that. Each link will go into the custom values. On the custom values page, it's going to have, I think, there's only a few. So one is going to say show, one is going to say no show. You put it in each perspective custom value for that to be updated. That will update that link. So that means when that email gets sent out every time, it's going to do this. That's part of the trigger in order for the rest of the system to work. I'll show you how that works in just a minute, but back to this workflow that we're in, 3B. Once the team member, whoever is assigned, once they get the trigger link, letting them know like, hey, once they receive the email, letting them know, hey, how did everything go? The system is going to wait for them to click an answer and see like, hey, did they show, did they not? Based on what they respond, different things will happen. So if it was a no-show, that's going to update within the opportunity pipeline that it was a no-show, and then add them to the next workflow. And the same for showed, except it's not going to update them as a no-show. It's going to actually get a different step going in process to that next, because those are two different responses, two different results to the call. So, but still, 3B is going to be our next workflow, and I'll show you what happens with the custom values too. So yes, here's the custom values. I don't have mine updated, but I think I had the no-show appointment link that was up. So say for instance, I had that preview popped up, I would just copy that link and I would put it here, edit custom values, put the custom value in there, and hit update, right? The same for the one that says show appointment no-show. That's for something else entirely, so you don't have to worry about it. But yeah, that's how you would update that in the workflow. Keep in mind, I do have this all documented on a Google Doc as well. This is about to be a lengthy video, but this is a lengthy workflow, so that's to be expected. All right, so let's go on now to the next workflow. Okay, so this is a very lengthy, detailed workflow. 3C is where we pretty much are updating the no-show status. So this one starts off where the triggers are from the no-show and the show trigger link that we've just discussed. And basically the question is asked, did they show? Now, all of this is based off of there being a no-show to your appointment. So let's say they keep being a no-show, all of that will be tracked here. So for instance, here you have, if the no-show equals to 0, what happens? If the no-show is a 1, what happens? Or if the no-show was a 2, like if this is second time being a no-show. Obviously we want to build much more than that, because you don't want to keep having no-shows on here, but we're tracking if they are no-show and they keep being a no-show, trying to get them back in for their appointment. We want to get them booking that appointment, like, hey, are you still interested? Are you still interested? Basically following up and nurturing them with this workflow. The next one is going to be workflow number 4, which is going to be pretty much focusing on the nurture campaign. It's like a nurture series set up there. So okay, so in this workflow, we have about 5 days of nurture sequences. Now, as I said, with one of the other workflows, we have the appointment dates that we were updating, and this is where that contact field is being used. Within this workflow, 5 days before we have nurture emails that are being sent out. Now, this is actually a special that they were doing in the video, so they had the workflow built out, not including the email, so you do have the email prompts that you can, not email prompts, but the emails that you can add depending on what the campaign is that you're going to use. You can fill in for 5 days, but this just is a nurture sequence, a series that are set up. So all built up before the appointment date. You can fill in all your emails rather as need be. Then 1 day before the appointment, and you have your final nurture email being sent out. Now, the part that I like here is that even when you surpassed the 5-day point, let's say they booked 3 days before the appointment, they'll just skip down to the 3rd email within the sequence if they book close. If they book like far in advance, like a week in advance, whatever, then the 5 days, obviously when they're 5 days out from the appointment, that's when they'll start getting their nurture sequence sent out here. And I think that's pretty much it for that, and then we can move on to the next one, which is going to be the next one, 4A. I thought we were on 4A. 4A, where we're going to discuss some more nurture series emails. Alright, so in this nurture sequence, I keep saying nurture sequence, I'm used to saying sequences, but anyway, in this nurture series, this is followed for if they do not schedule an appointment. It's going to wait 24 hours from when it engaged with the last workflow, and every day they will send out an email. This one is set up for 10 days, but you can set this up for as long as you want. This could be a month, this could be a sequence of a series of 365 days. However, the frequency is also that you want it to be sent out. But that's what this workflow is all about. It's 10, a total of 10 days. And yes, you would need to update the emails to whatever emails you want, whatever you want the emails to say as part of your email series. Okay, so workflow number 5 is when they send in the invoice to enroll in whatever you are offering. Now, if during the chat they say they're cool with the price, the voice AI bot could honestly send them right to this workflow directly, and then they can go ahead and pay, and that will be that. So I did create a template. I realized it doesn't look like the asset is sending over of the invoice template, but the template was actually created, but it's not showing. However, in that template, it's just basically the product information is on there, the amount that you might want to charge. However, the template is just that you can create your own template, but all you have to do is just like I clicked, you would just update it to the template that you want it to be of the product, the service, whatever it is that you're trying to sell using Voice AI. And then after that, it's going to wait 24 hours and bump them over to the did they pay workflow, because that is going to be where it tracks based on the trigger here. The invoice has been paid, right? The invoice has been paid, and you can select again the invoice there, and then it will come to the next step. Did they pay? If they paid, then it'll move them on to the next workflow. If they did not, we're going to wait some time and then send out an email to confirm confirmation on payment, just in case there's a glitch in the system. Again, we have to remember we put a lot of things in place because the system does glitch. They might have paid and it doesn't show, then there's a delay. It happens. Not just in GHL too, it happens in all different softwares, but just in case, we put that in place in case the system doesn't grab it or to get the notification, and it does ask them again to reinforce that. So we'll go on to the next one, because they will receive reminders to pay if they did not yet. Alright, so this is going to be triggered by the invoice. We have that, again, the template, whatever template you create, once it's paid, this will trigger this, as well as the order form. Now, I will say, remove this trigger from order form if you do not want it. Okay? And the reason being is because if you don't want that trigger in place, comes in if you don't have another way for them to make that purchase. So the service and offer that you have, the product that's you're having Voice AI sell for you, if you also, a lot of us have funnels that might have an order form on it, and on that funnel order form, it directs them to the product as well. So you can go ahead and update it to that specific order form. But if you don't have an order form, if you don't have a funnel or anything else, some other way for them to purchase, then you can go ahead and just click delete and remove it off of here, because it's just the trigger of invoice is gonna be linked to it. So that's like really the important part. The other one is optional, basically. And let's see, it adds the tag, it sends out a thank you email, and it will update the opportunity as well. Now, what happens here is, obviously, once they have actually been purchased, and then this is where you would enter in the thank you message, and then we do have the text that is going to say, hey, check your email, we just sent you information about your Voice AI, right? Or whatever you were offering, you would update that. At that point, then we'll push them onto the Voice AI onboarding. That's what that's here for. Are you ready to schedule? It will say update appointment scheduled. Hey, do you still want to schedule? It'll just basically, at that point, now that they've purchased, they want to take you on to the onboarding phase. Okay, so that's what this workflow is all about. Now let me go on to the next one, where we have this workflow. Now we're getting to the workflows that aren't necessarily part of a strong part of the ecosystem, but just like an assistance. So workflow number 9 basically updates the status for the AI to tell where the conversation left off, and you can track it. It isn't like really mandatory or needed, but it's very useful as a backup because it's checking the status. Now, if there is no status, no update, or what have you, as you can see, is tagging accordingly, then it will wait 24 hours and start back up again to figure out what the status is. So that's all that does as far as the workflow. And then finally, we have scheduled onboarding session, which this, again, we already have it where they can schedule onboarding, but this one is mainly for if you just need them to be onboarded, period. All you would have to do on that workflow is update the onboarding calendar, like I showed you before, and the onboarding team member who will help them. So let's just say, oh no, the bot, for whatever reason, wasn't able to set them up into scheduling an onboarding call, right? Or something gets lost in the system, or I don't know, GHL freezes, whatever could happen, right? This is the manual one where they can schedule still the onboarding session with your team member. Now, just like the one before in 5B, you will want to update assigning your onboarding member, right? Click here. Again, I have test client, but you just do the drop down and select however many team members you want to be optional for that booking, as well as updating your email appointment confirmation message. And at that point, it will update the opportunity for them on the onboarding pipeline for appointment scheduling. And that concludes all 14 workflows here. As I said, very detailed workflows, if you will. A lot of them complex, a lot of different parts, moving parts here that are included in the system. But yeah, that pretty much concludes everything. I do have a document that I wrote down everything that we discussed and broke it down to kind of follow what we discussed as well. So it will be easy to understand everything. And again, the disclaimer is listed on there as well. Thanks.